Halloween is the season of spooky tales, but not all stories are just tricks or treats. Tonight, we're diving into 3 spine-chilling Halloween horror stories that will leave you questioning every shadow. Stick around because the third one is by far the most terrifying. It's one you don't want to miss. Story 1, The Masked Stranger. It was Halloween night in 2024, and Emma was preparing for a small gathering at her apartment. The decorations were up, the pumpkin candles flickered, and eerie music played softly in the background. Her guests, mostly friends from work, were all excited to share scary stories and enjoy the spooky ambience. Around 9 p.m., the doorbell rang. Emma assumed it was another latecomer. When she opened the door, a figure stood there wearing a black cloak and an intricately designed mask that resembled a skull. "Trick or treat," the stranger said in a deep, distorted voice. Emma laughed nervously. "Good one. Who are you?" "Brian?" The figure didn't respond, just tilted their head slightly. Emma noticed they were holding a small, antique-looking box. "Okay, creepy. You can come in, I guess," Emma said, assuming it was one of her friends playing a prank. Once inside, the masked stranger placed the box on her coffee table and stood silently. Everyone was unsettled, thinking it was part of a Halloween joke. Curiosity got the better of them, and Emma opened the box. Inside was a black candle and a piece of paper with strange symbols. As soon as the candle was lit, the room went dark. A cold wind blew through, even though all the windows were shut. The stranger laughed, a deep, guttural sound, before whispering, "You've invited them in." Then, they disappeared. For the rest of the night, whispers echoed through the apartment, shadows moved without cause, and a sense of dread consumed everyone. By morning, Emma found the mask on her coffee table, but the box was gone. Story 2, The Haunted Cornfield. Jake and his friends loved exploring abandoned places, especially during Halloween. This year, they chose an old cornfield on the outskirts of town. Rumor had it that a farmer went missing there decades ago, and some believed his restless spirit haunted the field. They arrived just before midnight, armed with flashlights and cameras. The cornfield stretched endlessly, with towering stalks swaying ominously in the cold breeze. The deeper they ventured, the more unsettling it became. Strange shapes appeared in the corners of their eyes, but whenever they turned to look, there was nothing. "Guys, this place is just creepy, not haunted," Jake said, trying to mask his unease. Just then, they heard a faint voice calling for help. It sounded distant yet strangely close. Following the voice, they stumbled upon a scarecrow standing in the middle of the field. It was old, tattered, and lifelike. "That wasn't here before," one of them whispered. Suddenly, the scarecrow's head turned. Its hollow eyes stared directly at them as it raised a bony hand. The group screamed and ran, but the cornfield seemed endless. The stalks closed in, the ground felt like it was pulling them down, and the voice grew louder, echoing in their ears. When they finally made it back to their car, one of them looked back. The scarecrow stood at the edge of the field, waving slowly. They never returned to the cornfield, but every Halloween, Jake swears he hears that voice outside his window. Story 3, The Jack-o'-lantern Curse. Lila had always loved carving pumpkins. This Halloween, she decided to create the biggest and most intricate jack-o'-lantern in her neighborhood. She spent hours perfecting its face, sharp teeth, hollow eyes, and a sinister grin. That night, as she placed the jack-o'-lantern on her porch, a strange old man approached her house. He was hunched over, with wild, gray hair and a crooked cane. "Nice work," he said, pointing to the pumpkin. "But be careful. Pumpkins like that can attract visitors." Before Lila could ask what he meant, he shuffled away. At midnight, Lila heard scratching at her front door. She assumed it was raccoons, but when she checked, no one was there. Returning to bed, she heard whispers, low, guttural voices that seemed to come from the pumpkin. Peeking through her window, she saw figures standing around the jack-o'-lantern. Their faces were shadowy, and their movements were unnatural, like jerky mannequins. Terrified, Lila smashed the pumpkin, hoping it would end the nightmare. Instead, the figures turned toward her house. She locked her doors and windows, but by morning, the pumpkin was whole again, sitting on her porch with a note that read, "You can't escape us." To this day, Lila avoids Halloween altogether, but every year, a carved pumpkin appears on her porch with the same sinister grin.